Continue with the seventh chapter from your political science book of grade 11, and the name of the chapter is Liberty. And today we are going to start from law and liberty relationship. So basically we are going to find there are two kind of relationships, one in the correct view and the other in the negative view, or you can say in the wrong view. Does law help or hinder liberty? So law is actually helping liberty, or it is just misguiding liberty or limiting liberty. So regarding this point of view, first and foremost thing, it's a negative point of view, and we are going to analyze this in two different perspectives. One is law limits liberty and the other is law creates liberty. Which is true? Law limits liberty or law creates liberty? Overall view is both are wrong, but then also why it is wrong, we have to analyze that. Law limits liberty first is, so this is a negative point of view. The individualist, the anarchist, or the syndicalist, they always say wherever there is a state or wherever the state is working and limiting the liberty, that means liberty is not getting enjoyed by any individual. So the individualist, the anarchist, and the syndicalist hold the view that law limits liberty. What is their point of view? Their point of view is law imposes restraints, means restrictions, and according to them, liberty is the absence of restraints. That means they are saying about total or absolute freedom, which is once again we came across at the beginning of the chapter. Absolute freedom means it is a negative effect. It is going to affect the society in a negative manner. Therefore, law always limits liberty. The more the laws, the lesser is the liberty of the individual. Okay, this is the point of view of the individualist, the anarchist, and the syndicalist. What does the anarchist want? They want to eliminate the state power, the religious and the private property, and they want the rule of the working class or domination of the working class people. Okay, this is an anarchist state. And individualists, they want state will be there, but the state will have minimum function. Okay, state will have minimum function, and they are calling that state is necessary for providing security and necessary for protecting the properties and the people. Okay, but they will have a very minimum function. That is the demand of the individualist. And syndicalist also demand in the similar way, that the production process or the, you can say, the production force will be in the hand of the laborers and not in the hand of the rich people, and not so much of active government syndicalist is demanding for. So again, however, we have to conclude this by saying that this is a negative point of view, it is extreme and it is dangerous view. Okay, neither liberty is absence of restraint nor laws are only instruments of force and negative of and negotiates the liberty. So here in such a view is again rejected, it's not accepted, and is highly criticized that liberty, that law does not limit liberty. Now the second aspect is law creates liberty. Law creates liberty. Again, this is also a wrong point of view. Okay, this view is held by the idealist led by Hegel. Okay, this it holds that through its laws and activities the state creates liberty. State is creating liberty. Okay, his point of view. Liberty lies in complete subordination of the individual to the state. Total surrender to the state he is talking about. That means whatever the state is imposing, every individual have to follow it, have to abide by it. You cannot even raise a question, you cannot even put up your voice and speak up that this is what they're demanding for, or you cannot criticize the government. That is the total subordination, total surrender. The best and the only way to become really free is to obey the state rather than merge the self into the state. Again, this view we have to conclude by saying that this view is again a wrong and extreme view. It seeks to define liberty as slavery of the state and its law. So there is a basic difference between the liberty and slavery, right? So as because state is guaranteeing us liberty doesn't mean that we have to behave or we have to act as the slaves. If somebody is trying to create slaves in the state, that is not a liberty. State only recognizes and protects the rights of freedom of the people. Rights and freedoms are the natural products of the state social living. Okay, that is a natural product which everybody is enjoying. Hence, this view also stands wrong, strongly criticized, and totally rejected. So, here it is wrongly defining that liberty means slavery. This is totally wrong. So, what is the correct view? The correct view is law and liberty are compatible. That means both are working side by side. The correct view of the relationship between law and liberty is that without law, liberty can be in danger, and without liberty, law loses its very purpose of promoting the human welfare. So both are essentially needed. You can say both are supporting each other. Without the second one, the first one is becoming useless. So law is needed for liberty, liberty is needed for law, right? Law protects and helps liberty in the following ways. First, law lays down rules and regulations of the behavior of the people in the society. Without this, there can be no order in society. Second is, law gives a legal protection to the rights of the people, including the right to liberty. Number 3, law helps liberty in settling the disputes between the people over their rights. Law provides justice, a necessary condition for liberty. Number 4, okay, before we go to number 4, number 3, one more line we have to read, that is, law provides justice, a necessary condition of liberty. Number 4, one of the best ways to protect right to freedom is to make all the rights of the people a part of supreme law in the land. The 5th is, liberty involves the presence of restraints which are necessary, logical, and historical. Law acts for all, it binds all, it is creating a unity. Okay, it is objective, it ensures justice, it helps the people to meet their need. Finally, we can say law by eliminating exploitation and of man by other man, by protecting the interest of the weaker section of society. Safeguards of liberty, conditions are essentially needed for safeguard of liberty. What are the conditions needed? Point number 2 we are going to study, that is vigilance of the people. Vigilance means close watch of the people. Okay, people are becoming active in the liberty, where liberty is getting enjoyed by the people. They have to be more vigilant, they have to be more active, and they have to be very watchful towards the government. So the commitment of the people to continuously defend their liberty and their full alertness against any encroachment on their liberty in the second most important safeguard of liberty. If ever an individual finds that his or her liberty is getting hampered, he have to be aware, and as it is getting hampered, they must speak up. This is the first safeguard. That means every individual have to safeguard their own liberty. Liberal democracy, free political parties, free press, and free media are the essential safeguards of liberty. Okay, equal fundamental rights for all the citizens. For the safeguarding of liberty, it is essential that in society there should be no privileging class of persons. Liberty can exist only when equal rights are guaranteed and granted to all classes of people without any discrimination. Next point, they're trying to explain us that democratic polity with a well-knit party system and free press and media. So, establishment of a democratic polity is an essential safeguard of liberty. Both liberty and democracy are supplementary to each other. In the absence of right to freedom, there can be no real democracy. And without enjoying the right to freedom to express and a free press and media, along with the freedom to form and manage their associations, the organizations, there can be little liberty. Okay, the last no the third last point number 7, constitutional and legal protection of fundamental rights. One of the key methods of safeguarding liberty is to incorporate the Charter of Fundamental Rights. That means fundamental rights and freedoms has to be written in the constitution, or maybe not written, unwritten also it can be, but that there has to be some fundamental rights which has to be safeguarded by the state, and that has to be enjoyed by the people. And who is going to safeguard it, or who is going to be watchful? Our judiciary system. Judiciary system must have enough power to watch the fundamental rights that every citizen is enjoying or not, and whatever laws are being amended or made, is it constitutional or it's not constitutional? If it is hampering the liberty of the people, those kind of laws will get rejected by the judiciary, and that rejection, the power of rejecting the laws which the legislature is making, this power is given to the judiciary, and it is known as the judicial review. Okay, so independent judiciary system must be there in order to enjoy liberty. Okay, so judiciary should be assigned the responsibility to protect the right to freedom as well as other rights of the people. For discharging such an important function, the judiciary should be made independent and duly empowered. That means the legislature or the executive should not be dominating the judiciary system. The judiciary system will act independently without any kind of pressure. Then only liberty will be maintained in that state. Economic equality. So without economic equality, there can be no liberty. Okay, economic equality means what? Justice for all is one of the most essential safeguards of liberty. It must be ensured in its all dimensions: social, economical, political, and legal justice. Okay, social means no gender discrimination kind of thing, no caste, no class, no religious discrimination. These are all coming under social. Economical and political. Economical means, like when the girls are going for work, they are getting paid less and the boys are paid more. And maybe in few sectors where the girls are only getting employed, the boys are totally ignored. That kind of discrimination also you find in the economic sector. Not only this kind about the payment opportunities, also lack of opportunity, then distribution of income. Few section of the society is earning more and they are becoming very rich, and the poorer sections, those who are working as the workers or the laborers, they are paid less, they are getting exploited. So distribution of income is also another important point. Distribution of wealth, distribution of resources, all these are coming under economic aspect. Next, there is political equality, legal and justice. This also comes that if anybody or any society wants to enjoy all this freedom, first and foremost thing is they have to give economical equality. That is the equal opportunity to develop. They have to get a fair distribution of income, wealth, resources. All these things must be present in the society so that the poor does not get deprived in the society. Then only true sense of liberty can be enjoyed. Hopefully you understood the chapter. Thank you.